No one told me that toddlers would be up all night long. While it's very common to hear about babies needing sleep training, it's also very common for toddlers to need sleep training as well. It's important to know that sleep training does not mean cry it out, and that it's never too late to sleep train your child. Stay tuned for this video and you will learn gentle sleep training methods for your toddler. The owner of Slumber and Bloom, your mom life bestie, pediatric sleep consultant, and potty training coach. I love sharing tips and tricks on sleep training, potty training, and all things motherhood. So if you're interested in those kind of videos, then subscribe to my channel, click that little red button down there, and make sure you turn on the bell so you'll get notified every time I put out a new video. So the good thing about sleep training toddlers is that they're old enough to communicate with you more, they're old enough to have conversations with, and you can really prepare them for the changes that are about to take place. Before you even think about a sleep training method, I want you to prepare your child first. The first thing I want you to do is prepare your child with bedtime routine cards. Having a visual routine system is going to help your child comply with the order of operations at bedtime and for them to actually more easily prepare for bed and go to bed. If you don't already have any bedtime routine cards, then click the link in the description box down below and download my free bedtime routine cards. Not only are you getting these cards for free, but you're also getting morning routine cards to go with it. So your child will be on the path to having a smooth bedtime and a great transition to morning as well. The second thing that I want you to do is to incorporate a reward system if you don't have one yet. What I want you to do is encourage your child to stay in bed all night long and wait until it is time to get up, and if they do a really good job, then they will get a sticker on their chart. Encourage your child that once they fill up their chart, then they can have a larger prize. Whether this is a prize such as chocolate milk in the morning, chocolate chips in their pancakes, or something small from the dollar store, or just something you know that your child will love that is very cheap. I don't want you spending a lot of money, and I don't want your child associating gifts with good behavior, but rewards are always a plus. Your child needs to earn rewards, and that's the difference here. The third thing I want you to do is to allow your child to make choices. Let your child make as many bedtime choices as possible, such as, do they want to go to the bathroom upstairs or downstairs before bedtime? What pajamas do they want to wear? Do they want to brush their teeth before you, or do they want to have you brush their teeth first? That's something that I do with my kids, is I will have them brush their own teeth and then I will check their teeth to make sure they did a good job. But sometimes I will brush their teeth first because I know they're not gonna do a good job, and then I will have them brush their teeth after. But giving your child that choice is giving them the power to choose their own bedtime routine. You also want to let your child choose the bedtime stories and bedtime songs that you sing, and letting them make these choices is going to make for a smoother bedtime, and it's going to get your child's body ready for sleep. The more easily your child settles down for bed, instead of ramping up into a tantrum, the better that they're going to actually produce melatonin and fall asleep faster. So basically, when your child is complying with their bedtime routine cards, making lots of choices, doing all the right things, then you know that your child is going to have a great time falling asleep that night. On the other hand, if your child is fighting it and the routine's all over the place and you don't really have a rhyme or reason to your bedtime routine, then your child is going to be producing cortisol, and that is not going to help produce melatonin, and that is not going to help your child fall asleep on their own. So you definitely want to make sure that you are, following these steps. Let me know in the comments down below if any of these things are already a part of your bedtime routine and that you're already doing these things. I'd love to hear about it. The next thing I want you to do when preparing to sleep train a toddler is to consistently use a tot clock. Now, I have heard many families say that they love these, and other families say that they were a flop and that they didn't work at all. Most of the time when I ask parents how long they use their tot clock when they say it didn't work at all, they probably told me 3 or 4 days. Now, you have a toddler, right? So you know that kids don't learn something the first time. And it's the same thing when using a tot clock. When you're incorporating this tot clock into your nightly routine and actually your entire day, whether it's naps wake up time in the morning or bedtime at night. You should be incorporating it several times during the day and using it on a consistent basis for at least 2 weeks before your child understands and complies with the colors on the clock. This is another reason why I love using the My Tot clock, because you can actually use this clock for morning wake up time, nap time, night time, through the night, if you need to incorporate time out or rest time, and also alone time / encouragement time, whatever you want to call it. I'm using it as my kids for reading time. But when you're using this clock several times a day, your child is engaged in what the clock is telling them to do, and they're really learning what each color on the clock means. So I highly recommend grabbing a toddler clock if you don't have one yet. I will leave links down below to my top favorite tot clocks. Another thing that you definitely need to do before sleep training a toddler is to make sure that their schedule is age appropriate. And sometimes toddlers can be tricky. Some toddlers are still taking 2 naps a day and they're going to bed just fine at night and sleeping through the night until morning wake up time. There's some other toddlers who are still taking 2 to 3 hour naps and their schedule's kind of messed up at bedtime and through the night. Maybe they're waking up at 5 a.m. That means you need to shorten your nap and you probably need to push bedtime later. I can't say for sure 100% what your child's schedule needs to be without actually talking to you and knowing what your child is, like what their sleep needs are. But looking into their schedule, and I will also leave a guide to naps in the description box down below if you wanted to download that. That is a free resource that I have for you. And if you have questions, you can always email me. But you need to make sure that your child's schedule is what your child needs their schedule to be and not necessarily what you want your child's schedule to be. Sometimes, and I know getting into the summer months, parents want the bedtime later, and if your child's not napping, then they're going to be overtired at bedtime, and it's just not going to be a good situation. So, long story short, we need to make sure that your child's schedule is appropriate. Now onto the actual sleep training methods when it comes to toddlers and using gentle sleep training methods. I'm kind of a fan of smushing different methods in together and kind of molding into, you know, your own kind of sleep training journey. Because toddlers can be very feisty and very verbal and may or may not still be in a crib, you may need to sit next to your child until he or she falls asleep at night. This is known as the chair in the room method. What you need to do for the chair in the room method is sit next to your child's bed or crib as he or she falls asleep. Once your child is asleep, you're going to leave the room. As days progress, you are going to move closer and closer to the door as your child is falling asleep. Now, once you are able to be outside the door is when I like to incorporate the kissing game. So the kissing game can be used either after you've done all the steps of the chair method, or you can skip the chair method completely and just do the kissing game method. And what this method is, after your bedtime routine, what you do is after your bedtime routine, you put your toddler down in their bed, you say goodnight, you tell them that the kissing game begins now, and you walk towards the door, but you rush back to give your child a kiss and say, "Yay, you've done a great job staying in your bed. I'm gonna give you a kiss." And you make it really exciting so that your child is excited to have been winning this game. Now what you need to do is take a few more steps towards the door, leave the room, and then go right back to your child and give them another kiss. You're going to continue this process out of the room, in the room, out of the room, in the room to give them kisses and reassurance that they're big and falling asleep on their own and they're doing a great job and winning the game. You're going to continue doing this until your child falls asleep. So the way that this works is that each time you leave the room, you're going to leave for a couple seconds to a couple minutes longer, depending on what your child can handle and if your child is staying quietly in his or her bed. If your child gets out of bed, then the game is over. You quietly return your child to their bed and you don't go back until your child is sleeping, and then you give your sleeping angel baby a kiss. This method tends to work most with children who really crave that attention and affection at bedtime and that are used to you being in the room as your child falls asleep. It's a really good transition to something like the chair method, to being out of the room while your child falls asleep. The third thing that I wanted to talk about was the bedtime pass. Now, this is just, I wanted to show you a picture here that I have of my dad and I. This is a great example of a bedtime pass. So what you would do is decorate the back with your child, and if you can laminate it, laminate it. I don't know about laminating photographs, but you could use an index card if you didn't want to use a picture. This is just a picture I had on hand, so I use that as an example. It could be a whole family picture or whatever you want it to be, but something that your child can kind of look at and love and hold and know that you are close even when you're on the other side of the house or wherever you may be in your room sleeping or whatnot. The object of the bedtime pass, though, is that your child has this pass that they can actually hand you and have permission to get out of bed one time after your bedtime routine has been completed and your child is tucked in. With the bedtime pass method, this would be used after you've already completed the chair method, after you have already completed the kissing game method, and you are at a point where you are putting your child down for bed and leaving the room until they fall asleep. This method is giving your child the power to choose when they want to get out of bed, what is and isn't worth using their pass for, and it's giving them actual opportunity to get out of bed if they realize that they really need something after bedtime. So this might be an extra hug and kiss. This might be a trip to the bathroom. It might be a little sip of water. It might be anything. And what you're going to do is take the pass, tell them, okay, I have your bedtime pass now, get what you need, go back to bed, and I'll see you in the morning, and that's that. I love this method, and it works really well with kids over 2.5 years old typically. I do mostly see success with this method with older children, so even inching closer to 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. I've used this method several times with kids that old, and they do a great job. So now I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments down below which one is your favorite method. That is all that I have for you guys in today's video. Make sure you download my free bedtime routine cards if you don't have any already. Print them out, laminate them, and have them at your child's eye level. And if you use my bedtime routine cards, share on social media, make sure you tag me and let me know how you're liking them. Thanks for watching today's video. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss a video. I post a video every single week, and there is so much free advice on this channel. While you're waiting for next week's video, check out these videos over here and keep blooming.